Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, it is December 5th, 2023. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look over. You see that? I just did like my normal YouTube video intro. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is December 5th, 2023. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, the altcoin market, the stock market, gold, silver, the US dollar currency index, anything as we get ready for the stock market to open up in the next 3 minutes. We'll, of course, take a look over there at any type of financial news going on that seems important, and we'll take a look over there at any type of crypto news that is going on. But, of course, everybody's attention's focused over there on $42,000. Who cares about news? Price go up. So let's go. Price still sitting here at $42,000 as it was yesterday, not showing any signs that it's wanting to do anything in regards to breaking down or anything like that just yet. So price still maintains to hold. We got the altcoin market over there in the red. We'll talk about that today. After yesterday's live stream, it was like 10 super chats. What's wrong with XRP? And we'll revisit the discussion of this because it seems like everybody forgot, or if you didn't watch the YouTube video that I put out, altcoins, the important dynamic right now, talking about the divergence. So this video was put out about a month ago. And so we'll talk about that here in this live stream today. And then I think we need to bring that up. I'll probably make a YouTube video about that today again to discuss this dynamic in depth right now. Either way, should just be excited to see Bitcoin go. I know you see a lot of people on YouTube or a lot of people on Twitter screaming Bitcoin. And Bloomberg put out an article yesterday saying Bitcoin's going to $500,000. So you have a lot of people who are in pain right in here because we talk about different styles of capitulation. You have price capitulation, time capitulation, then you have jealousy capitulation. And it gets difficult for people when you see people you respect, everybody out there on Twitter screaming Bitcoin is the one, Bitcoin is the way. And Bitcoin's been up 10% in the past week. So everybody's screaming for these 10% gains. But this is a good thing for the cryptocurrency market to see Bitcoin rising up. And we'll talk about that a little bit today here in this live stream. But I'll try to put more together on a video again to rehash all of this and that flow and that dynamic and that divergence that can happen in there. We've definitely talked about these things until finally, whoom, they play the big catch up to happen in there, like we're looking for over here on the altcoin market caps with the Wyckoff accumulation, looking for that sign of strength breakout to get things moving. But Bitcoin, hey, we might see this thing start to shuffle up here live as the market opens. So the stock market opens in 1 minute. We're at $42,136 over here for Bitcoin, still continuing along in here. It's gotten so sloppy at this point. It's hard for me to try to guess where are we in here. Are we just like, if this is 2020, right? Are we just somewhere like right in here, or have we already shifted up into a moment like way up in here? And I think either one are possible in there. From a time perspective, you would think we'd be further along in this thing. So that would make more sense. Maybe it'll become more clear if we actually just shoot through there pretty soon. Then it would be like, okay, yeah, we're further along, which means those altcoins probably don't have much longer to go either until they start to get moving. But, of course, the thing's keeping an eye on there. Of course, everybody's out there screaming, we're zooming, we're mooning. Just lots of reminiscences for me going through market cycles of what happens in this. We know where Bitcoin is. It's back here in April of 2022. We know that all the altcoins have struggled at this level that have kind of led the way to get there, such as Chainlink, XRP, Stellar Lumens, Bitcoin Cash, status, like everything has really struggled in this level. So it's, all eyes on it to see if it gets through. My best guess is probably that it will. I have already taken some action selling some Bitcoin because it becomes this whole dynamic of, you have all these different scenarios. Are you 2020? Or, are we like in 2020? Is this thing going to fire off and just go absolutely mooning? Are we more in like 2016 where we're going to find something that shoots us right back down to $30,000 to $32,000, or are we just going in for a standard 702 Fibonacci retrace, which of course is going to get lots of excitement. We've talked all about this stuff, that as we would get back into these retracement levels, what would happen? What would the dynamic of this market actually be like? We said it would be retail FOMO. We said it would be retail euphoria. And we're starting to see the early signs of that. Just so you go on to Twitter for half of a second, x.com, whatever, we're calling it Twitter. You go on there for half of a second, it's just nonstop Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. As we get back into the retraces and euphoria and how high we're going and the narratives of ETFs and the narratives of financial advisors are going to make commissions off selling the ETF to people, right? Like that is what's happening right in here. So everybody's attaching themselves to a narrative, to FOMO, to convince themselves of, I sold looking for 23K. I sold looking for 20K, 16K. Everybody else was doing it. We were all selling it. We were even selling looking for 12K because we were going to get a ton of Bitcoin by doing it. Market rips to the upside. Now you got to attach yourself to some type of narrative to FOMO. Like typically price alone isn't going to do it. There's going to be some type of narrative. The narrative, of course, is financial advisors are going to convince retail investors and people with 401ks and the retirement accounts to buy Bitcoin with the ETF. But we know we're getting into retracements, right? So this is the big thing as all the euphoria does return. That's always what you do want to be cautious of, is when euphoria returns. It reminds me of 2019 when we came off the lows and we shot back up in here. Total euphoria that happened in there. And then boom, it shot its way back down. The 702 retracement, of course, has a perfect narrative to go with it. We're going to see the headlines come as we get closer to it, should we do so, because the 702 retracement is precisely at $1 trillion. So it would be the perfect narrative and perfect headline out there for $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin. And that is exactly where the 702 retracement is, right on the money. I mean, you can see it right there. 1 trillion, 702. Is that magical unicorn fairy dust puppet masters pulling the puppet strings god or simulation? I don't know. But for that to happen and for that to be the thing, you imagine the headlines of that. So we get back in here. We've got excitement happening for sure. But the dynamic of this market, still a lot of things have shown a lot of similarities to 2016. If we get that high, that's going to that actually will not cross this peak over here of $52,000. It would still come up short. It would be somewhere between like 50 and 51.5, something like that, is where that 702 retracement would land. I've said this is the one that I think is my best guess. I, of course, have to take some action here because I've seen the entire market stop right here and nothing has been able to get out of this zone. So I've taken some action in here, but my best guess is that blip up there, that 50 to 51.5 kind of area over there. And that would be your 702 retracement. That would be your $1 trillion market cap. Now, as for the altcoin market, right? So we see red over here in the altcoin market. We've talked about this dynamic before. If this is similar to like 2020, that there's a divergence. I think the name of the video is titled, and it was put a month ago. It's called Bitcoin and Altcoins, Divergence to Explosion, how this Bitcoin price dynamic led to altcoin surges, in which we're talking about the divergence happening in here of this moment in time, like we've been tracking here for months on end, this whole thing, that as we got in here, that we ended up seeing a divergence amongst the altcoins pulling back down. And we just saw it everywhere happening in here until finally there became a moment out and away it went. And so when we look at the altcoin market right now, we can kind of throw on total 3 to get an idea of where that is at. And then down here, we can throw on total 3. So down here on the bottom, this is 2020. Up here on the top, this is 2023. Getting an idea of how this range happens in here, you can see Bitcoin. Bitcoin has shot itself all the way up in here. And you can see total 3 is still just hovering here near that high. Look over here for total 3. We're still hovering here at the peak of this range that we've been in since April of 2023. Bitcoin shuffling its way up. Nothing out of the normal happening in here. This is what we see. Of course, we're seeing Bitcoin dominance rise during this time. But in these types of elements, you want to see Bitcoin go. You want to see interest in the cryptocurrency market. And what you have is a lot of panic, a lot of fear, a lot of, is Bitcoin going to be the only one because the narrative is so good and everybody on Twitter is telling me it and Bloomberg is saying we're going to 500K and I'm stuck in this dingus coin. That's what always happens. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we want to see. You want to see the people fearing out about altcoins because that's what typically comes next, is then a big wham happening out of there. So we are waiting. We are still sitting here after having a big shuffle up in here, being back at these highs. now sitting here waddling as Bitcoin continues to shift up. Look, you see these things happen like that. You see the shift up happen. It's like, hey, why aren't we doing anything? And then bam, there becomes that big moment of going, which I think we will get. It's just taking a little time for it to end up playing out in here, and that's okay. This is going to be one of those things that tests the mental strength of people, which a lot don't have, but it'll test it for sure. But either way, this is all good stuff. This is what you want to see for the cryptocurrency market. Your narrative, and the same thing goes, right? So I don't believe any like these crazy narratives for Bitcoin, right? Most of the narratives for the altcoins are total BS too. Look, the market all moves together. You wait for the dynamic to happen. You wait for the dynamic shift to end up playing out. And then it's not isolated to whatever the narrative is of your coin. They all end up going. And the behavior of Bitcoiners, like I've seen this many times. Like this is not the first time. And it actually isn't even that extreme yet. Like I remember in 2019, it was like literally as we got back, like, do I have this on here? As we got back into retracement levels back in 2019, the narrative was full blown. Let's go back over here. It became a Bitcoin only narrative here. Bitcoin only narrative, sell all your altcoins, get back into Bitcoin. And I wouldn't be surprised if that narrative starts pushing itself too. And that's what you'll end up seeing. You'll see people who sold, looking for 23, looking for 20, looking for 16, looking for 12, buy back in. They sell their altcoins, and then they get wrong-footed at the top. It's the game never ends. The narrative or the movie never changes. It's like Groundhog Day. It's like watching when you watch just the behavior of the whole herd and how they all react with each other. As you get back to these places, and then the headlines, and then everybody's super excited about seeing Bloomberg saying we're going to $500,000. It is really like, I posted this on Twitter yesterday in response to TXMC. It's like watching a movie for the third or fourth time, and everybody else has seen the movie too, but everybody has amnesia except for you, and like. They don't remember how the movie ended. They all think the movie ends differently. And so they get real excited about Bloomberg saying we're going to 500K. They get real excited at retracement levels right back in here saying it's going to go shoot off into all-time highs, 500K. It's just the same movie played over and over again. And nobody remembers how it ends. But the exciting thing is, right, just remembering the dynamic, remembering these things. If you think for 1 second Bitcoin's going to be the winner, history tells you otherwise. Percentage-wise, Bitcoin's the loser in almost every cycle. So, do as you will. The altcoin market tends to outperform, and this dynamic is normal. We're now just waiting for that to happen. And so once it starts to show up, we'll talk about it. But we do still wait here for us to get out. So continuing to wait, we do. All right, there we go. We talked about all that. We talked about that. There's your total. So I'll put out a video on this today. Moving over to total 3, we got that. Stock market, you're open. What are you doing? Dow Jones Industrial Average down 141 points. The S&P is down 17, and the NASDAQ is down 59. So the Dow is down 0.36%. The S&P is down 0.37%, and the NASDAQ is down 0.38%. That's rare. We don't usually see them that tight together. Winner of the days are Apple, Tesla, and Coinbase. Losers of the day are ARK, Ford, and Roblox. Heading on down to metals, you can see that gold is still down. Silver, where are you? You are still down as the dollar is up. Let's go look at that. Gold, there it is, the big fall. Now, whether or not, I hate patterns. I hate Wyckoff. I don't hate Wyckoff. I love Wyckoff. I hate the head and shoulders because this is the first one anybody who starts doing technical and identify it early. And the thing that usually ends up happening is they try to identify it like right here, right? Which, of course, this one does play out. But I'd say 80, 90% of the time, these things just go like that, and it's not a head and shoulders. So people will look for it ahead of time to try to identify it. People who do trade the head and shoulders will typically attempt to buy the breakout of the actual neckline, and that's really more of the safer way to do these. If you're going to do these 100 times, you're going to find better luck on that, and then the breakout, and then looking for the back test on the neckline. So if it does maintain the neckline and then bounces off of here, then rock and roll, all good to go. But, seeing gold pull back in here, like we said yesterday, expecting weirdness in the markets yesterday, which it actually was pretty calm, but to see gold break out into an all-time high like that was quite concerning for equity markets. So it gives equity markets a room to breathe here for a minute to see gold not going into a bull run just yet. As we know, the dynamic throughout all of history, not an opinion, this is just fact, this is data, this is unequivocal, not an opinion, is that neither one of them go into full-blown bull runs together. It's either one or it's the other. So a little bit of room to breathe there for gold, as it gave a very nerve-wracking moment there Sunday night as futures opened, but now since has pulled back down to 2022. So it closed last week about $3, $4 below the previous all-time high. Then when futures opened, boom, shot $70 above all-time high. Now we're back to being about $52 below the previous all-time high for gold. So settle down and chill out, gold. Otherwise, we see the DXY continuing to try to pull off a little bit of a reversal and find some type of support happening in here. Was our thoughts for this. I still don't think it's going into a full-blown reversal yet. My thoughts are more likely that it is working something like what we see in typical crashing structures, but that this will start finding its bottom here pretty soon. But that we're probably not quite yet shifting up here in the DXY, and then that'll be kind of the last hurrah as long as we do end up getting that. All right. XRP, of course, stuck there with the rest of the altcoin market. The dynamic is not different. That was also included and discussed in detail over here on this video. If you're looking for something otherwise, you're looking for it to behave independently and go on a bull run by itself, the evidence is clearly out there that it can't, right? You should know that simply because of the things that have happened in here. Winning the lawsuit versus the SEC did not do enough to send it on its own bull run, right? What other things ended up happening? There was more victories that ended up happening, right? All the stuff getting dropped versus Brad and Chris, right? And that didn't impact anything. Right. So it's still just a dynamic. It's just a coin that is still just stuck with the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So if the whole market moves up together, XRP partakes in the party, sometimes delayed and causes some pain, but eventually ends up going with the party. The thing about it is it's not like it's not keeping up, right? Early on, it's already gotten all the way up to the prices of December of 2021 back in here. And if we ignore that, like we've talked about and said, that has not happened because that is a news event that ends up pulling itself back into where the rest of the market was, right? What do we see in things like in 2017 before the bull run happens in there? XRP still continues to do this. Could you imagine that happening right there? With Bitcoin in this March, you would just see people lose their dang mind, absolutely lose their dang mind as that divergence plays out in there, and as a test of that support level would get touched, right? It's a 1.5 year long breakout that happened in here. There would be just minds getting lost, getting lost happening in here in an event of that occurring, with this march up continuing to happen with Bitcoin. I think it's still even reasonable that could happen in there, but watch out afterwards. But either way, the price of XRP has not gotten to unrealistic prices, or has it been really lagging behind? Look right in here. What is this? This is April of 2022. Where is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is back in April of 2022. So there's nothing crazy happening for Bitcoin that's much further than XRP. There's nothing really lagging behind with XRP. We're just kind of seeing divergences happening in there. Which we saw this happen back in 2020. Now the question is, does Bitcoin have a bigger break to happen with it? And if it does have the bigger break, which it seems logical to get back up into there to the lower 50s, which is where the 1 trillion market cap sits on the 0.702 Fibonacci retracement. That's it, right? And that's going to be very difficult for people with a narrative wise, like the people who like have had this long-term plan of like, I'm going back to the retracements and I'm selling at the retracements. The euphoria, the excitement, the news headlines, the everything happening there, they won't sell. They won't get out for sure. You know it. Their emotions are going to take control because we haven't had this in a while. People are used to spending the last year and a half, 2 years in utter depression. This has all come very quickly. The sentiment just not too long ago, a month and a half ago, was extreme pessimism. We've now moved to euphoria. And I'd say it's low euphoria. Let me see what's the fear and greed index at? It's still in greed. It's at 75, right? So 96, 95, that's where we are in absolute extreme. I don't think we're there, but I think getting to a 702 retracement will put us in extreme greed right in there. But people won't take any action. The news narratives will be too good. All of their peers over there on Twitter, all the people you respect, will be telling you this is going to absolute moon. And again, for Bitcoin, that is going to be this area right in here. It's just shy of the 702 retracement on the actual price chart. They'd be closer to 50 to 52 is kind of the area in there. So we'll see if we can get through that 50% retracement in order to get through there. Again, there's a lot of scenarios happening in here. So I've taken some action, but my personal thoughts are the highest we're going is going to be up in there to the 50 to 52 if we even get there. All right. So that covers most of it right in there. There you go. There's Bitcoin 42,166. Still, the big, great debate. Is this 2016 or is this 2020 or is this the Doomtown Goblin? I think so far looking okay, but we got to get the break. Like if we got up there, I'll say this, right? If we got up, this is the biggest danger. Like where we're at right now, just in this area for a rollover, this is your biggest danger of being like Ethereum of 2018 when we roll down and we go down to like $3,000. You're in that level where those types of rejections happen and things get utterly horrid. If we can march up in here, if we can go hit that 50 to 52, man, in my mind, that will, first of all, I don't think we're going to get through it. I think we're going to, the best case scenario of what would happen in there, for me personally, is we get there and then that, right? And then go. But if it pulls the 2020 stuff, fine, that's great. The altcoins are just going to go euphorically ballistic. But I have to like kind of have a little bit of thoughts that, we're not going to go in a straight ballistic line. But like if we got up there to, 50 to $52,000, I would think we'd pull back down here. But I would start to improve that outlook that I've had of like, and I wouldn't say necessarily that I'd improve my outlook to say we are going to start a new super cycle. Let me be very clear, because there are people who will hang their hat on like riddling every word that comes out of my mouth. But like it does increase the optimism I would have of like, we're just going to pull back down to 30 to 32 and we might be able to find support there. And then I'll be watching that like a hawk, right? And if 30 to 32 can hold, then I will be thinking to myself, holy cow, we might end up going, much higher in this market. And I would buy Bitcoin there, right? So I would certainly, the dynamic of the market would be like, hey, look, we still have a year left in this thing until Bitcoin's going to get to an all-time high. In that type of event, it's like you still have like a year. And I would buy Bitcoin in there. I'd buy the altcoins that I've been researching, but I definitely would like re-up this position in Bitcoin back over again. I'd refill that thing back up because Bitcoin has been my number 2 holding. It still actually is my number 2 holding, even with how much I've let go. But I would refill that bag up in that event. However, if it broke down below that, no, game over. But this, like getting this high opens that door. I do have concern of it when it's right here because everything has rejected from here, and this is where Ethereum rejected in that 2018 rollover. Like if it rejects from here and starts plunging down in here, this is that $3,000 super long bear market scenario for Bitcoin. So definitely cheer for the higher prices. Definitely cheering for the 50 to 52. That would be absolutely epic. And yeah, if it wants to do more than that and catch me by surprise, by all means, go for it. But this is just my basis. This is my base case of my thoughts on Bitcoin. So cheering for it to go up for sure. All right, there we go. I think we've kind of covered all of it. The stock market, little wobbly today. Let's see how you guys are doing now that we're open. Looks like a little bit of improvement over here in the markets. You got Apple, Coinbase, and Nvidia in the green. Losers, ARK, Ford, Roblox, and Meta, and then everything else in between. Yields are down today, not by much. They were up quite a bit yesterday. Most indexes are down, so it looks like the NASDAQ is improving slightly. You have NDXT down a little bit yesterday, so still fighting at that last retracement level, but these signs are typically good things to see over here for the NDXT. So typically in this type of structure, still it's going to keep going up, and that, of course, would be good for the cryptocurrency market. But okay, I think we got it. We got Bitcoin. We talked about the altcoin market. We talked about this stuff, right? The divergence stuff happening in here. Again, if you haven't watched this video from a month ago, the title of this video is Bitcoin and Altcoins, Divergence to Explosion, How this Bitcoin Dynamic Led to Altcoin Surges. So if you need to rehash that, I saw all the super chats yesterday of people crying, seeing Bitcoin going up. Go watch this video. This was put out a month ago, as we still continue to wait for total 3. All right, there you go. There you go. Gold 2015. So gold down even more. And there we go. We'll see what gold does. This is positive for the equity market. DXY still continues to march. XRP. There you go. All right, let's go over to financial news happen. Stocks fall for a second day as market rally stalls. Lawmakers ramp up scrutiny of Shein after retailer files for IPO. Expect McDonald's to talk about expansion tech in China during its investor day. Wells Fargo CEO warns of severance costs of nearly $1 billion in fourth quarter as layoffs loom. Traders debate whether markets went too far and too fast. The repo market spikes conjure memories of September 2019 U.S. funding turmoil. I saw that repo market spikes. Of course, we're talking about the reverse repo market here. This spike right happening in here, that one right there. Okay, Bloomberg. Fear, baby. All right, Putin's Gulf visit defies efforts to isolate him over war. Israel, Moody's cuts China credit rating. Apollo's Mark, Miranda slams universities and pre-hire. Okay. Cool story, bro. All right. Let's look over here. BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF plans. U.S. crypto lobbying spending expected to hit new record. What do you think will happen if the ETF gets denied? What do you think will happen? I'll tell you exactly what will happen, right? The block reward halving's in only 3 months. Everybody, the block reward halving. It's okay. We're block reward halving. That's where the narrative will shift. I'm going to make my bet. No ETF. They'll get denied. All the hype, all the euphoria, it'll go away in half a second, and then it'll become block reward halving, which, funny enough as it is, in this scenario in here, this is about where we got the block reward halving back in 2020, or excuse me, in 2016, right? So our block reward halving, so right over here, the Bitcoin block reward halving is a little bit further out, but that's of course where the narrative will go, and the focus will need to be to keep the dream alive, to keep the narrative alive. But I'm gonna bet no ETF. Why would I bet that? Right? I've seen this story before. The whole 90% probability that everybody has, it's based on one guy. There's 90% probability an ETF will get approved is based on one guy. And also, the gatekeeper of the decision is the SEC. And after going through the Ripple and SEC lawsuit for almost 3 years, and watching the delay tactics that they constantly do, I have to think they're going to do what they can to delay, right? So, yeah. And it's, again, another one of those things where, like, everybody who is here in 2019 and 2020, it's like we're seeing the same movie for the second time with ETFs. And then the whole ETF stuff died off. We moved over to block reward halving discussion. And then, nobody talked about ETFs ever again. Then the ETF discussion is like the only thing, it comes up in the bear. It's like the only time people care. Because it gives you something to hang your hat on, because all the other narratives are proved to be total baloney. And that's what will always happen. You have to have narratives, right? They can't sell you the dream without the narrative. Okay. All right. I think that's it for news, right? CME futures, looking over here at probability of a Fed interest rate hike. Man, that's coming next week. Okay, so next Wednesday, 8 days from now, we will be having the Federal Reserve interest rate meeting video, a live stream, right? We'll see if the Fed continue, like what their language is in here. The market's essentially pricing out. We go out further. Let's go to January. Okay, let's talk about this. Next Wednesday, probability 99.9% that they're going to be paused again, and we still continue the pause. Move on to January, 85% probability it'll be paused then. Move on to March, you got a 54% 37.6% probability will be paused. They price it at over 60% probability that we will cut rates in March, whether that's 25 basis points or 50. Then you move over to May. Only 12% probability that we're still where we're at right now and that we will be cutting already come May. That, you could see all of it. They're putting it at an 88% probability that by May we will be cutting. And these tend to get changed so dramatically all the time. But then you move on over to June. Only 2.7% probability priced in right now that we will still be at the current interest rate, and we will have not already started the cutting cycle. They're pricing it at a 97.3% probability we will be in a cutting cycle by June of next year. And of course, probability is even earlier than that. Again, we talk a lot about this. We went through all of this stuff as everybody was screaming, don't fight the Fed, right? Don't buy the market. Don't fight the Fed. Bitcoin has risen ever since the Fed started, 75 basis point rate hikes. Ethereum bottomed, XRP bottomed on the 75 basis point rate hikes. You have some stuff that goes lower, but for the most part, even the total altcoin market cap, total 2, has held the low since the beginning of the 75 basis point rate hikes. So the narrative, of course, is flip-flopped. And a hiking cycle is okay. A pausing cycle historically has been good. It's the cutting to watch out for. And so we could see it just thinking about market dynamics and how they work, how nothing changes with markets and market participants and what they think. That even when we get back into retracement levels, we're only at 50%, right? So we're at 50%. You see euphoria in Bitcoin, nothing changes, right? Because you have all these social media platforms, you have the news narratives that get turned on and everything. But we always know retracement levels are the danger levels. We just know that, right? But this time is different because there's this narrative, this narrative, this narrative. Everybody else is saying it. It's on media, this, that. It's going to be different this time, right? So we convince ourselves because of narratives. But even though the charts are still the exact same, the thing will probably be the same thing over there if we do end up starting getting cutting cycles, right? Maybe it is that with the first cut, right, that it does create the euphoria, that blow off, the final push, right? We go back and we look at previous hiking cycles and cutting cycles. We've looked at them. That first cut didn't trigger everything to hit the fan, but it was the second and third ones. That's where it was wait a minute. And then the fourth and fifth, it's oh my gosh, wait a minute. Everything's really bad. So there could be this big celebration moment that happens upon the first cut. Because right now, what are we in? We're in the pause, right? We've been in the pause for a while, probably still going to be paused come next Wednesday. The market has a 99% probability. We're still paused next Wednesday. But when that first cut eventually does come, there might be a moment of celebration. There might be a moment of euphoria and excitement. But that would be the history speaking for the last 23 years. What comes next after that? is no bueno. So, all right, there we go. Bitcoin 42,274. Let's go. All right, I'm hopping into the chat, everybody. What is that? 35 minutes of the ramble. Let's go ahead and hop into the chat. Eric Martinson, before the stream even started, my brother, my friend. Eric, thank you very much. I appreciate it. He gifted actually 2 of them. Thank you. Wigmapool 182, member for 14 months. Oh yeah, we're doing a members stream today. I forgot. Okay, I've got to plan. I got to plan my day now. Okay. All right. If total 2 or 3 hit 702 and XRP is still sub $1 or that $1.30 range, would you sell any? And when, Moon? I'll have to see. I'll have to see how my bags. I know that like the immediate thoughts in my mind are restructuring portfolio. In regards to like market shifts up. I've spent 2023 really trying to research what was the dynamic of 2021. What were the elements that had it? That's why I'm writing all these newsletters, because I'm doing all this research. I'm not going in blindly like some of you guys, like most people do. You go onto Twitter, you want some cartoon dude to tell you, here's the altcoin to buy, and then hopefully that you 10x off of it. And that's just your strategy. And it has worked very poorly for you. But that is what you're hoping will end up happening for a lot of people. I've tried to give all the data in here in these newsletters on blockchainbacker.substack.com to figure out, is it developer data, which is why I brought the sentiment guys on was that last Friday or the Friday before? It was before, right? It was the day before Thanksgiving, maybe? I don't know. It's been a blur. Brought the sentiment guys on to show the developer data. I've written all about that, focusing on high development coins. Did over 2 times better performance than the top 20 did. Focusing on percentage drawdowns, right? I wrote a whole article on that a couple of weeks ago. Percentage drawdowns, the probabilities of going into all-time highs were very much tied to that. And so I went through all the top 100 from 2018 through 2021, and then I provided the percentage drawdowns on everything right now. And then what was the last one? Inflation, right? And not inflation like CPI or the Fed, but circulating supply inflation of coins, right? Why things like HBAR, their market cap has held up so well, but why is the price down 70% from where the market cap is? And it's because of the influx of all the coins, right? You have huge inflation, right? That's going to be the whole narrative for Bitcoin, right? Coming up, right? It's going to be that block reward halving. It's going to go from 1.75 annual inflation rate down to 0.875% annual inflation rate, right? So that's the big narrative. That's the thing that is going to do it. So focusing on inflation and circulating supply increases that are happening to coins, focusing on percentage drawdowns, and focusing, I think, the most important element out of all of them, if you're just going to focus on any, is the development stuff. So getting back in there, when I decide it's time for me to make big cuts, it's going to be a lot of stuff that just doesn't fall into those categories, right? Fortunately for XRP, it does fall into a lot of those categories. One of the more shallower drawdowns in 2021 does have activity in developer data, and the inflation rate being at about 7%. It falls into all the categories. So it's not like one on my list of major cuts that need to happen in there. But there are stuff that I own that I've had that in a pop-up, and just it's going to get cut. It's going to be part because I want to reduce my portfolio down into a big retrace. And I put a lot of money into this market here in late 2022 and early 2023, and even mid 2023 after that ABC in the altcoin market. I put a lot of money in. So it's time to pull some of that out. It's time to reduce things down and prepare for what if S hits the fan. And the things that are more on my list are the ones that don't really fit into those super developer coins or low drawdowns that happened. So will some XRP get cut? It's possible, but it's not on my top priority list. And if it was some, it wouldn't be 50% or 40% or something like that. But it's not on my list right now. We'll just have to see. And in the end, I'm going to see, here's the dollar value of my account, of my entire portfolio. What's getting axed? That, and that. That's kind of the way I'm going with it. And then I've got my whole stuff. Like I said, the next newsletter I'm coming out with is where we're taking all of these elements combined that we've gone through in the last 3 newsletters and going to try to like play with 2018 through 2021 to see if there was a way to incorporate each of them to try to figure out who could have been the best performance. But there's no question, any of these 3 things, whether it was focusing on inflation, focusing on percentage drawdowns, or focusing on developer data, you would have outperformed the top 20 by market cap on CoinMarketCap. Any of them. Like if you take anything away from any of this, this is the worst place to go shopping. Okay? Just looking at this list and saying, it's ranked here. That must mean it's going to go up. Everything goes up when the whole market moves. Everything. But what we clearly saw is not everything goes up by the same percentages. And looking in here did not give any type of clue on percentages. And there were different elements to look at that ended up having better results. And that's really been what this whole focus has been on for the last month and a half. But fortunately, XRP does match the criteria. It's got active development, a shallower, let me look at the number. The top 100, okay, by market cap, it was in the top 10 for most shallow drawdowns. And here's a fun fact for you, okay, to understand why this stuff has been important. And if you haven't been reading these newsletters, to understand this. In 2021, right? So if we looked at the top coins by market cap, in 2021, like as we started the new cycle, only 19 of those coins went into all-time highs, okay? 19 from the top 100. Of them, 16 came from coins that had shallower than 94% drawdowns, okay? And that was from the... How many coins had less than 94% drawdowns? 23. 23 out of those 100 had drawdowns that were less than 94% in the 2018 through 2020 bear market. And of those 23 that were less than 94%, 16 went into all-time highs, which means rather than 19 out of 100, it was 16 out of 23. So rather than like 19%, it was 69%. So there's a reason I'm putting all this data together. So where does XRP land? It lands in the top 10% of drawdowns in 2022. Okay. So whether that's that, obviously 69% does not mean 100%, does it? It doesn't. But it's way better than 19%, right? So it has that going for it. And then, of course, we've shown things on developer report. We've shown active development, developer growth. And in the most recent one, we looked at the sweet spots of inflation rates, and it does land in the sweet spots. So it's got it's got the things going for it. I think the things I wish we had more of on XRP is I wish we had more developers. I wish there was more of a drive for more development. I wish as a community we focused more on that rather than being so riddles and conspiracies, because those don't do anything to help. Like they don't do anything to help at all. That's just bad. It's just bad. And it all leads to affiliate links, right? So I just wish that we as a community cared about just utilizing crypto and doing stuff, but we're really focused on the secret bears, the riddles, and the 1, 2, 3s, 3s, 2, 1s. But you know, it is what it is. So, but we got regulatory clarity, right? XRP, the only one. Literally, none have that, right? Yeah, they got like Bitcoin's got the blessing, but written into law, XRP is the only one. So that's a nice little trophy it's got right there. So, okay, I got to move on. I spent way too much time. Okay, Oscar Hernandez gifted a BCB membership. Thank you very much. Oscar Hernandez says, hit the like button and maybe there's a typo. And don't guys Taco Tuesday? I don't know. Hit the like button for sure, though. Joseph Wiley said, for everyone who is trash talking BCB when we were buying the bottom, I got one thing to say. Pump my bags. Yeah, 702. Thank you, Joseph Wiley. Yeah, it comes with the game. It's just a part of it. Slander is the name of the game. The great thing is I don't ever forget them. Dinguses. All right, Dale Kansky, hit the like on X. Yeah, okay. My brother, Dale Kansky, thank you. And I love your photos. I always say that. Mark Duvall, thank you for everything. Can you draw the contracting triangle on the Binance XRP chart? The Bitstamp is missing 27 days. In BCB, we trace. The contracting triangle, the 27 missing days is from 2017. It's not missing in 2020. It's not missing from 2018 through 2023, right? I don't think it is. Zero XD isn't Degen wants altcoin picks. Nah, see, like the trick is, right, what I'm supposed to do, like the content creator strategy is that I'm supposed to tell you I've got a very special altcoin that you need to be prepared for. I'm going to tell you about it on Twitter. And then what I need to do is go open up 10 to 20x leverage on it. And then I need to tell you about it on Twitter and then, make $1 million. That's the real content creator way. All right. I'm just kidding, but it's prolific. That's a very, very common thing that happens out there if you don't know that. Let me tell you one other sneaky strategy of that kind of stuff too. If you're ever on Twitter and you see somebody who is like posted something saying, here's my top 10 altcoin picks for 2024, or moving forward into the bull run, right? Things to keep an eye out for. It is super common of what the strategy is to list very common coins in that top 10 list. List things like Bitcoin. You say, look, it's digital gold. It's the thing. You got to have it. Then you list Ethereum and you say Ethereum, of course, right? Smart contracts, development, it's absolutely great. You list things like Chainlink. You say, look at the development. You look at this, look at that. And then you keep naming really popular coins. But in there you say, but I'm also taking some risks on these ones that I think are really good too. And I think they're up and coming. And I think they're going to be the next big thing to compete with Ethereum. And then you list a total trash S coin that you have 10x leveraged and you're trying to get the audience to buy that one. And that's a very common strategy of pump and dump. If you don't know that, you need to be aware of it, that what happens is these lists come out and saying, hey, look, this is my list. And what they have in there is they have the hidden ones in there that are actually the pump and dump coins. They're trying to gain your trust by naming the big names of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then hidden in there is the trash. And it's just a very sophisticated, very trustworthy way of looking like they're helping people, but they are actually doing pump and dumps on you. So be mindful of those lists and know that those little coins that they have in there with a couple $100 million market cap or less, that's pump and dump. And those people are not the helpful people that they make themselves look like they are. They are definitely pumping and dumping on you. Okay, there you go. Gifted Oscar, thank you, brother, and then Pat gifted 5 too, man. Thank you guys very much. You guys are here every day doing that. Thank you very much. Christina E says, "Hi, remind me the 702 of Coinbase stock, please. Did you mention yesterday you let go at 55? The price is 140. Well, no, I didn't let go of 55. I was buying at 55. I was buying when it really is funny, this market." That I was perceived as an idiot here. Now you're a genius if you buy Coinbase. Do we not realize the there's been this box on here. That box has disappeared now. That box used to always be there. Do you guys not realize what happened? I hope we all notice it. The people who tune in all the time, who are have their finger on the pulse, definitely notice it. But the people who are just I'm only gonna kind of barely look at it a little bit. You don't really see it happening. But you're an idiot to buy down here. Now you're a genius because it's going to go way higher. Somebody did say, are you planning on selling at 155? I'm not sure why 155 was picked. I think this has been my whole area in here. I don't think 155 was the number. If it was, then oops. This is more of the area in here. But just looking over here, right? Where are we? We're in April, right? This is April of 2022. This is where Bitcoin is, where everything is. So this is the IPO, right? It's just been nothing but down during IPO. Crashing structure, 4 point, burn. This thing, I mean, it could rally much higher. But this is the big area of concern for me in here. But picking a 4.236 extension picking a 702 retracement from an IPO date, a little bit more difficult. It's not like we actually have a real cycle top happening in here, which I mean, I guess technically we do because it's where the Bitcoin top comes in, it's where the XRP top comes in. 702s are at about 312. But we're also using like IPO date. So, if you wanted to use like the most recent peak, that might be more reasonable in there. More of like that 270 level. Sorry, I did a hard swallow in the microphone. I cannot stand it when people do that. I apologize. Oscar Hernandez, thank you very much, Christina. Oscar Hernandez gifted a BCB membership. Thank you very much. Oh boy, I am way behind. Dennis Wayne also gifted one. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. He gifted a BCB membership. Thank you, sir. Spag says HBAR and XRP are going to rip faces off. Hit the like button. Yeah, we're already at 1,000, guys. You guys are doing great today. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. And shout out to those people, and I know many of you are here, who just hit the like button the second you start watching a video. It means a lot. That's cool that you do that. You don't have to do that, and you do that. That is very cool that you do. Thank you. Thoughts on Celestia from Da Benzo. The chart is only 1 month old, but the developer report is really strong. How do you analyze charts with no history? Elliot Waves, yeah, that's the thing, right? So you essentially have to take the total blind shot in the dark, right? Which is one that I've taken on Sui, which still hasn't done anything. But I took a shot at Tia as well because of the strong development activity. Unfortunately for me, I thought we'd get like I just said, all right, here's how much I'm putting in right now, day one. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to wait for this thing to lose like 50% more, and then I'll throw the other half in. That one didn't lose the other 50%. It just fired straight up, right? So, yeah, trying to, you're in constant price discovery. You have no supports of anything and something like that. So he's talking about this. Right, it gets released over here on November 1st, so a month and 4 days ago, and then shoots up. What's the total rise here from its low? $347% from its low. From its actual like launch moment, which was, put it right there, it's like up 284%. But right, like in order to like pick measurements for like higher targets beyond this, because I assume this is all just part of the same thing. And I don't know, how high it's going to go before a real deeper correction comes in, where it's not just like, what is this one? It's 33%. That's nothing really, not in crypto, right? Like something like 70% coming in. Like once we got like a 70% correction to come in for TIA, right? Whether it's from higher or it's from right here and it pulls back down to the lows, if this would be wave in crypto with how these charts have worked historically for these newer coins, right? And so long as this whole crypto market's going to keep going, once that came in, we then have at least a wave to be able to measure off of for another one. But as of right now, this is total just price discovery, and we're going to have to wait for a bigger crash to come in for me to start doing any like reasonable measurements coming on there, which I think one will. I think we'll see a 70% correction at some point at a minimum, right? don't hang your hat on that number of 70%. Some of you like do. I have no clue what the percentage will be, but I would assume something around 70% for TIA at some point. And then at the end of that one, it would essentially be wave 3. And that like this is not wave 2. Like this is all still part of the same wave, and kind of waiting for wherever that is, that, and then the big monster wave 3, and then 4, and then 5. And a lot of times in these waves, which I don't know this will happen, I'm just showing you like this is how like a lot of coins behave when they're new. I can show you examples on like Sia coin, or I can show you examples on like Solana. That these ones, this is like your monster wave in here. And then this is just your standard 4.236 final 5th wave. And these numbers are drawn very high to $200 and something. I'm in no way predicting this is going to $200. I'm in no way predicting this is going to over $100. I have no clue. We need more price action because there's just nothing here. You have 34 days of price action, but we don't have any type of structure to go off of for like, a cycle reset, right? Just a wave reset, like for things to cool off, for people to kind of panic a little bit, to form a bottom, reduce volatility, and then ramp up to go again. And so we still have to kind of wait for that to come along wherever that may be. So with these new coins, you definitely have a lot of challenges. And so it's like kind of like going back to Solana in the early days. We'll use you. In here, right? Here you are at launch, right? I mean, this thing goes nuts here at launch. So here's the launch, and here's the first rally of launch, 777%. Then it makes a big pullback, right? So finally you get a big pullback happening in here. Where it goes down 80%, right? So 78.8%. And then from there, it goes almost, almost the fully, right? And then it goes on for the final 4.236 extension happening in there. That's kind of what you're waiting for, at least for me. For like TIA, I wouldn't mind adding more TIA because it's high development, new coin, has a chance of like being one of these kinds of coins. But still needing this thing, like for me to like I own some, it's tripled to quadrupled, but for me to like build a like serious, it can add more to it. I can't do it in this kind of stuff. I need to get something like this for me to then say, okay, now let me go for wave 3. But we're just not there. John Lively says, in this season of giving, consider donating a membership to those degens who are less fortunate. Thank you, John. Ed the Metalhead gifted a membership. Thank you, Ed. And how far behind am I? Yeah, about 20 minutes behind. Dylan is a new member. August, thank you very much, Dylan. Welcome. Crypto Bambino, wondering if you sold or held your Songbird and Flare. Like I sold the Songbird way early. I think I got 50 cents per Songbird. So way early. Like in the first 2 months or something. When they were... I remember like one of the things they were doing to try to get you to continue holding your Songbird was like you had to hold it for another snapshot or something. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not partaking in any of that. And got out definitely way before whenever that snapshot was. And that is where it just completely fell apart. Where would it have been? Maybe here. Yeah, there. So I was out before this snapshot ever took place here. So again, that's been my criticism of Flare. When you have this level of inflation, or just like, and this, like for me with Flare, The fact that that could even happen, that you could go from 56 to just this, and then just be nothing but garbage town. I mean, right? This is the same creators of Flare, guys. But Songbird's a test net. Yeah, well, it wasn't sold like that, you know. Let's look at Flare. How are you doing? Holding. It's holding up. But again, this has insane inflation. So Flare has gone from 5 cents to 1.4. It's not horrible. How long has this been around now? When did Flare get released? This year still? It's been less than a year, huh? Yeah. But I don't know. Like, it's one of those things that could just, you know, keep the thing going because there's so much supply. But as for Flare, yeah, I have like a few $100s of it. Just that I got in the beginning. That's why I can keep my eye on it, right? It's not, I totally don't expect it to be anything. I expect it to go down to like nothing. But I also get to keep it. Like, I was also like, people asked me about Flare a whole lot, and I wanted to be able to like give a real opinion on it and like report back and not just be some idiot. But like, I have a wallet. I have it. I get all those little, what are they called? Flare drops? I don't know. Where, you know, we get more coins all the time. Let me see. Let me log in right now. Do I have one waiting on me? Sorry, hold on. You're going to have to wait. 2,000 people. You're going to have to wait for me to look at my phone. Oh, okay. No, Flare drop number 10 doesn't come for 6 days, right? So my like total supply that I have of Flare, I believe has tripled. So I have like, that's just based on the inflation that I have. So in less than a year, my total Flare holdings have tripled, right? But the dollar value is still down. It's actually better than it's been, but it's still in the red, right? So like, one thing I was critical of in all of this is all the people celebrating. Look at this. I just got free money by my Flare being deposited. But it's the same thing. Market cap remains the same. Let's see if we can find the Flare market cap. Come on, be in here, Flare. Nope, we're gonna pull it up on. I'm not gonna spend much time on this. Holy cow, I'm wasting so many people's time. I'm sorry, guys. But again, this is here. Look, check out the newsletter. This has to do with inflation, right? Flare market cap. So the Flare market cap is all the way back to where it like launched at, right? But the token price is way down. So you're no better off had you bought Flare, got all the little delegation staking rewards, all that kind of stuff, than if you did nothing, right? Like, or if you just didn't do anything, right? Because the inflation is so insane. Fortunately, like on the market cap, that does look like, that looks like an accumulation escape. You'd think it's going to backtest that level at some point to go confirm it as some support. You would think that would happen. But looks okay. The problem with it is inflation, insane inflation. So no, I'm not like a serious holder in Flare, and I only have it just so I can sit here and kind of trash talk. Because the Flare people, they're dishonest, straight up. I don't respect Flare. I don't. I think it's managed horribly. I think they screwed over the XRP community, and I have zero interest in giving them any support on this YouTube channel or any type of promotion. They totally hosed people. My biggest live stream I have ever done, was in 2020, like a week before the SEC sued Ripple. I had like 11,000 people in that live stream, and we were watching the XRP price chart live as the snapshot was happening for Flare. There are a lot of people who expected to get their coins, and they were forced into this garbage stuff that they did. The Flare community preyed on the XR. The Flare network team preyed on the XRP community, used the content creators to create marketing for them for years, and then rug pulled the XRP community in regards to the token distribution. So Flare, I don't care about you. Sorry. You screwed too many people. All right. And I've said that 10 times, so there's nothing new there. JB Heavy Equipment Services. Thanks, BCB, for everything you do. Everyone smash the like button. The Bitcoin Daily Bearish Divergence. Thoughts? Well, like I said, we're in this dynamic right now. Bitcoin dominance is going to keep rising until this thing lets go of itself. It's like a rubber band being pulled back right now, and that's what's happening in here. So it's just going to keep going until that thing snaps. Again, catch that video that was released a month ago titled Bitcoin and Altcoins, the Divergence to Explosion, how this Bitcoin price dynamic led to the altcoin surges, in which we're discussing the divergence that happens in here. And this does cause Bitcoin dominance to rise in this type of an element in here, where you have the altcoins pulling back, you have Bitcoiners screaming Bitcoin only, and then boom, it's like the rubber band gets let go of and off they go. And so in here, I can't imagine I didn't sit here and say there's going to be a bunch of emotional people in here who are just screaming. I'm sure I did. If you haven't watched it, it's a month ago. Bitcoin and Altcoins, Divergence to Explosion, how this Bitcoin price dynamic led to the altcoin surges. And we're talking literally about what we're seeing happening right now with Bitcoin and with the altcoin market and this stuff right in here. So yeah, it's going to keep rising until this thing finally lets go. Andy Philpott gifted 5 BCB memberships. Thank you very, very much. OX Degen, what are your favorite alts for 2024? What is your riskiest couple of picks? That's like maybe you're being a jokester. I think that's what you're doing. That's like exactly the thing that I was just saying that you have to be careful of content creators doing, as they put in 10x leverage on some coin and then tell you about it. That's like got a $100 million market cap. All right, total 3. But yeah, no, I'm not gonna give you altcoin picks. I give you the tools. You could make those decisions for yourself. Total 3 performance into Bitcoin retrace, an indicator of whether there will be a new Bitcoin super cycle in 24 or a long-term bear. Total 3 performance into a Bitcoin retrace. So like if total 3 goes breaking out into new all-time highs into Bitcoin's retrace, right? If this is like the epic alt season of all alt seasons and it happens into Bitcoin's retrace, that's likely a really bad sign, bad sign, super long-term. But if all we see is the altcoin market shoot up into these areas and here, the $700 to $900 billion level, and then it cools off in here for some time, that's more indicative of that we still have a whole nother leg to come out of here. And I put out a long ramble video on that last week talking about that dynamic. But yeah, if altcoin market shot off into new all-time highs and just flew up to the all-time highs, it would seem like, we're marking like super end of super cycle in crypto for a long time. That's my thoughts. Your favorite content creators and your favorite Twitter spaces will be telling you differently. But that's just my thoughts. It's brutal out there, man. The craziness of discussions here of $500,000 Bitcoin as we're at the 50% retracement. It's wild, man. It's wild. Again, I totally think this is very, very likely, right? That we get to the $1 trillion market cap at the 702 retracement, which is actually about a $50,000 to $52,000 Bitcoin. But if we had not talked about this for 2 years, that when we get back into retracements, it's going to be euphoria for Bitcoin, right? You're getting to visually see it right now. You're getting to visually feel it and watch it live of what it's like when euphoria returns in retracements. and the narratives, the justifications, the reasons why you should be euphoric and that it doesn't matter. Kevin Smith, can you draw a big green arrow for where you expect alts to surge and break out for each of the 3 Bitcoin scenarios you mentioned? To jump from here, 50 to 52K, all-time high. Thank you for the support, Kevin. Maybe another time. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Kevin. Alberta's Cowboy, new member, welcome. Stash, new member, welcome. Thank you, guys. Oh, no, Stash, you've been a member for 7 months, man. You said you've created an awesome community here, BCB. So many incredibly generous people. Yeah, I'm going to start trying to get through this quick because I forgot. I told you guys we were doing a members-only stream. So I've got to get this thing wrapped up and figure out a time. Dylan August, thank you very much. This is my man. I canceled my kids' Disney Plus to become a member. They're forced to listen to your streams during breakfast daily anyway. Casper's popping. What's your thoughts? You still hating it? Love you. It's not that I hate it. It's that I met them. I wasn't impressed in any way. They kept trying to tell me like enterprises, and they couldn't answer any questions. Like if any of you guys were there and witnessed what I saw, you would have been like, oh crap. You would have been like, no. Like out of all the booths I saw, like all the booths, hundreds of booths, like it was literally the least impressive out of the hundreds of booths. And the guys were nice that I talked to, but they had a very specific script that they were told to regurgitate. And then when you asked them any questions about it, they had no answers, none. And that was alarming to me. And then when I just, I don't see them on any of the developer lists, right, of like high development. I don't know why that is, but I don't see it. And, I know a lot of you guys own it. I know, power to you, man. I hope it 100Xs for you, dude. Like, I hope so. But like for the criteria I'm looking for, it just didn't match it, right? And I cheer for you guys. I hope it works out. Bro, I see you, Andy. I'll get to you. Andy, you're the man. Silver Days XRP, member for 3 months. Hit the like button. Thank you very. Oh yeah, lolo. Cameron Smith, welcome as a backer. Welcome as a member, new member. And then Andy Philpott's out there just dropping them. Man, Andy, thank you. All you guys in green now. Look at you. You look so beautiful in green. Good job, guys. All right, somebody says Bitcoin a new high. There you go. It's trying. Let's go, man. All right, so there we go. We've gotten through all of them. Andy, thank you. It was very generous. Pat, of course, you give to 25 of them out, so, right? So those 2 guys made up for 45. We got 59 new members today. That comes from 45 of them from them 2 guys hooking up the community. It's absolutely amazing in here. How much of that is just gifted? It's crazy. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Let's go ahead and plan. Let me make sure my timing is right here. Okay. I gotta make sure I don't have anything going on. And I said I was gonna put out a video today, so I'm kind of in some trouble now. All right, we're gonna do a member. Excuse me, I'm right up in the microphone. Hi, how are you? All right, I'm moving back. We are going to do a members only live stream in 30 minutes from right now. Okay, you guys cool? It'll run for. I try to keep those under an hour. I've let this one run for an hour and 13 minutes. So 30 minutes from right now, and we'll have a member stream. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this one up. There you go. Bitcoin, $42,400. Let's go. These are things we want to see, man. These are elements we want to see in the crypto market. Let's go. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to wrap it up. Of course, you guys can check out bcbacker.com for all of the most wonderful videos you've ever seen in your whole life by me. Very similar to the YouTube channel right over here at bcbacker.com. And then you can check out the newsletter to get a good understanding of how the altcoins behaved in 2021 and what elements had better probabilities than other elements. Right over here on blockchainbacker.substack.com. There are links to both of these in the description of this YouTube live stream and every one of the videos that I do put out. All right, Jonathan Ferris, welcome. But on that note, guys, we're wrapping it up. I will check in with members. I'll check in with you guys in 30 minutes. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like the live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Thank you, Eric. Have a good one.